Hello everyone. Let's begin by lighting a candle and being intentional about bringing our awareness into the presence of God. I'll move that out of the way and begin with a prayer. God, I will focus my eyes on your faithfulness rather than on my own failures. I will look to you to help me fulfill the promise of all that my life can be. Amen. I think that's the kind of prayer that Ignatius would approve of. Well, I wonder how you went thinking about sleeping with bread. I hope it wasn't too much of an obscure tangent asking you to think about a story that had a basis in fact and what it might mean for us on a spiritual journey. What might your particular bread be? What might it be that you need to hold closely to yourself when it comes to thinking of the fruitful life, the joy of being with God and understanding His call on your life and the direction that you should take? This is all a bit traumatizing, being in front of you talking about these things, and this awful sense of the camera in front, so I mustn't make a blooper. So let me try and put that aside and pretend we're just two together talking about these things. I thought I'd start off by giving you something of what Ignatius, or the Ignatian way, explains as consolation and desolation. Here they are. Ignatius expected that God would speak through our deepest feelings and yearnings, what he called desolation and consolation. For us, consolation is whatever helps us to connect with ourselves, others, God, and the universe. Desolation is whatever disconnects us. Ignatius recommended turning to our deepest moments of consolation and desolation. We do this because experience, it is said, is our greatest teacher. The primary and most obvious reason for this is that revelation is not over. God is constantly revealing Himself to us in our experience. Of course, the Bible is divine revelation. No one denies that. But so is life. It is precisely because God is present to life and available to human experience that we have a divinely inspired story to tell. And that story, once told, is revelation. So I hope that helps a little bit explain more about why we might want to focus in on what's happening hour to hour, day by day, what is being revealed. And of course, all of this is based in the premise that our God is a loving God, and God urges us toward a deeper and more fulfilling life, one that expresses the presence of God and makes us feel better. We'd have to wonder, why would anybody attend church? Why would anybody believe in God? Why would anybody spend time in prayer? Clearly, it's because we believe that in those moments when we can touch the deepest part of ourself, and that self is connected ultimately to the divine revelation, that we feel a sense of completion and we grow in it. But of course, hour to hour, our moods change, events happen. Any given day, I could give you a litany of things that go wrong in this household. number one, technology. We have to battle on and try and make the best we can. So looking at how we are feeling and how we respond to those daily incidents is really important. I'd have to say that there's been a little bit for me of a confluence of understanding more about some of my PhD research, which was in Jungian psychology, and things that I'm learning more on a day-to-day basis about the spiritual journey. In some ways, when I finished one lot of study, I boxed it up and pushed it aside and thought no more of that. But on my spiritual journey now, I'm finding that there's much more overlap. And my goodness, today, as I was reading on Ignatius, I found a suggestion that one of the ways that we can focus in on experience is something that I used from Eugene Gendling about internal focus, that I'd used reasonably extensively in my research in looking at archetypal image that emerges from experience. And here and now I'm finding the same thing cropping up when I'm considering how image can be important in us understanding what God has to reveal out of our own experience. Now, it's very hard for me to box up something that I spent a year doing, an hour a day for a year, into a few moments. I feel it's inadequate in many ways, but hopefully it's just giving you some sort of insight and perhaps an interest, something that you might like to pursue. Those of us who are trained also in spiritual reflection have spent some time during our training thinking about images that come forward during experience. When we think on that question, what is it that I am aware of in this experience? And we would look at an image, and then we would wonder about how that image fits into our overall understanding of theology, of the nature of God and what God teaches us through experience. So I hope I'm not going in circles here. I wanted to give you just a little taster, a little example of the kind of focusing technique I used in my PhD research, and that is recommended as a way of focusing prayer. It has steps laid out, and I'm going to read these through in the hope that you might find them useful in coming into awareness either of feelings that are growth promoting and bringing you consolation, or perhaps the opposite, feelings that are bringing you more tension or anxiety. So this is Gendlin's technique. First, you're asked to sit comfortably with your eyes closed and let your awareness move down into the center of your body and notice what you feel there. Get in touch with an experience of desolation or consolation. Ask yourself if you want to listen to this part of yourself right now. Is it okay to spend some time with it? If not, care for the feeling of not wanting to spend time with you right now. If it's okay to spend some time with this area of your life, take a few moments to create a loving atmosphere where it will feel safe to speak to you. For example, how would you prepare your home if your best friend were coming to visit? How would you reach out to a hurting child or a wounded pet? Now, let yourself down into how this whole thing feels inside you. Where in your body do you especially experience it? Perhaps you feel an ache in your chest, a lump in your throat, a knot in your stomach, shaking in your legs. Care for this feeling and see if it wants to tell you about itself, perhaps through a word, an image, or a symbol. Perhaps it wants to come to you as a little child. Perhaps it wants to tell you its name, its history, when and how it developed, and what it needs. Whatever comes, reach out to care for it without trying to change it or fix it. Or maybe put your hand on that part of your body in a caring way. If you wish, ask God, as you understand God, or some other trusted person to come and help you care for it. Tell this part of you that you will come back at another time and listen to it some more. Before concluding, notice how your body feels compared to when you began. Are you now carrying the issue differently in your body? So those are 9 steps that Gendlin suggests that we can use in order to become aware of a feeling. I need to note that if that is creating in you a sense of anxiety or provoking issues and evoking issues that are for you difficult, that you may need to seek professional help to deal with them, and I would urge you to do that, especially in this difficult time of lockdown. I can tell you that I've started working again with these images. Out came my large bound folio, and I've started to draw and write, and I am spending some important time thinking about things that are important for me in the world of both consolation and desolation. So I'll leave that with you today, thinking about what you might have reflected on with sleeping with bread, and hope that the idea of being with images and your daily experience as a forum, a place where God is speaking to you, is something that you might like to investigate further, especially through Ignatian practice. Next time I'll give you some more reading and some more examples of the ways that we can use the Examen on a daily basis. Sometimes people like to do it more than once a day, and I am aware that some families have begun to use this as a sort of gratitude focus with children, and rather than put a spiritual sort of God focus on it, still want their children to think about gratitude. So let's conclude this little session with prayer. Loving God, we give thanks for new ideas, for possibilities that can spark in us a response. Go with us today as we survey ideas that might be both challenging and enlightening, and help us to know that you are with us every step of every moment of every day. Amen.